Welcome to Contemporary Retirement. Contemporary Retirement is a public interest program focused on the retirement community. Every program has segments on legal, financial, and health issues affecting the retirement community. Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a major grant from the Family Heritage Trust Company.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored by Family Heritage Trust Company. The Family Heritage Trust Company is an independent bank chartered trust company established by local professionals to provide fiduciary services including fee-based investment advice, trust services, retirement planning, and tax planning. The Family Heritage Trust Company is committed to client service in our communities. For more information, call the Family Heritage Trust Company at 301-631-5900.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a grant from R. Thomas Murphy & Associates, P.C. R. Thomas Murphy & Associates is one of Franklin County's leading law firms, emphasizing estate, trust, elder law, and medical assistance planning.
Welcome to the Is It Legal feature on Contemporary Retirement. Is It Legal focuses on the legal issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Tom Murphy from the R. Thomas Murphy Law Firm with offices Waynesboro, Chambersburg, and McConnellsburg. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Good morning, Mike.
Tom, we've been talking a little bit about continuing care retirement communities, which is something that, for some families it's clearly a great opportunity to, to have control of your care plan over a long period of time.
Exactly. It's a way to get ever increasing levels of care under the same roof, especially for a married couple who might need different levels of care, and so you're able to stay together, receive appropriate care, and in most cases, if you plan properly, in an affordable way.
We oftentimes caution families that the number one attribute of satisfaction for people is socialization. And so that oftentimes means not moving the parent to where the child lives, in some other state, but trying to keep the parent within the community that they've lived their entire lives. With the highest probability, wherever they are, they're going to encounter people that they, have a long-standing social relationship with.
Right, and many of my clients, and I'm sure with yours, who enter into those CCRCs are finding people they knew at some point, and they find they're more social and more active than they've ever been.
And we caution people every day, you have to take into account the day you lose your car, you're in jail, because the public transportation in our region leaves a lot to be desired.
Exactly, and then for many people that was their single biggest fear, because that was a source of independence and freedom, and now it really does put a lot of pressure on them to depend on other people.
And one of the things we tell people, which they don't want to hear, is you have to make that kind of decision before you need it.
Exactly. If you're doing it after an accident or some other kind of tragedy, then it's too late and you really have cut your opportunities down.
And what we mean by that is if a person waits until they have that stroke or something like that, these facilities oftentimes have waiting lists. You're going to find yourself potentially in an environment that you would not have chosen. And so ideally, once a person sort of sees the handwriting in the next several years, I'm at risk of this, they need to begin that planning process immediately, because even if it took you 2 years to get into the facility, if you get in there before that crisis event, it means that facility is obligated to make services available to you as soon as possible, not necessarily day one, but as soon as possible.
Right, and so it is a planning process, and it doesn't mean that you have to do something right away, but you ought to be evaluating your options and maybe exploring and making applications just to be ready for anything you might need to transition to.
And then oftentimes, we talk to people about, what their socials, look like and so forth. So, east end of Washington County, we have certain choices that we like. Frederick County, we like other choices. Carroll County, yet other choices. Right. And, same thing as you get out into the western part of the state. And so as you're looking at those choices, it's not necessarily what is the prettiest facility. It may also be where's the greatest probability that you're going to encounter people that you know and you can resume as normal a social life as you can have under the circumstances.
Exactly, and so in many places you can duplicate an outstanding or an even better lifestyle depending on what you select as far as the facility and the choices.
And one of the challenges that we have here, and it's understandable, is that the generation that we're dealing with at risk today, that generation that's 75 to 85 and up, their experience with long-term care facilities is just not relevant as to what's actually going on today. All they can see is these facilities from the 50s and 60s that were really not desirable.
Exactly, and just substandard care in some cases, or whatever the different vision was. But there are so many slices of that care spectrum available now, and they're increasing. So it's a tremendous opportunity for anybody out there looking to transition to that type of living.
And it also, you look at, who do you know and where are they likely to be similarly situated? Because if you find yourself with people that you worked with, 20, 30 years ago, or you had social with 20, 30 years ago, and sometimes you may not even know anybody in there, but there's some legendary figures in our community that people knew, so they share stuff in common. But if you were in someplace in Florida or in California, there would just be not as much commonality as there might be in a local facility.
Exactly, and so there is that desire maybe to be closer to family, but in many cases, the availability of family may be limited even if you're only a few minutes away.
I tell people your kid can come by 10 hours a week. Well, that's great, but what are we going to do the other 158 hours? And so it's really incumbent upon the family to try to design a plan that allows the older person, whether it be a single or a married couple, to really be able to manage their own life, not being dependent on caregivers or children to show up and to take care of them.
Exactly, and we have unique opportunities throughout the tri-state area to do that, and so you just have to get out and explore that stuff.
And the key isn't whether people want to hear it or not. We tell them all the time is you have to begin this process before you need it.
Right. It doesn't mean you have to pull the trigger, but know about it.
Tom, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
You're welcome.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Few things in life are as important as family. Leave your insurance worries to us. Write Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
Every life that meets its end leaves a heart for love to mend. Sister, brother, family, friends are left to carry on. When the loss seems more than you can bear, it's nice to know that we'll be there at Douglas A. Fiery Funeral Home. We care.
Call Ed Lowe to help put your mind at ease.
Welcome to special guest feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various issues which are of importance to the retirement community. With me today is Rebecca Massie, Director, Washington County Museum of Fine Arts. Welcome to the show, Rebecca.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
That museum's been around a little while.
86 years and going strong.
And how was it originally created?
Through a gift from Anna Brew Singer, who was a native of Hagerstown, and her husband, William H. Singer, Jr., who was from Pittsburgh Steel family. And together they actually lived a life of the arts in Europe primarily, both in Paris, then in Holland, and then last of all in Norway. He was a painter, she was a connoisseuse, and of course a pianist. And I guess in her 50s, I believe it was for her 53rd birthday that her husband said to her, I want to give this museum to the community of Hagerstown for you as a birthday gift.
Well, that's really quite charming.
But the gift was truly for the people of Hagerstown in Washington County.
And I know that they, of course anybody can go visit it though, but I know that they also wanted it to be free.
Yes, and we have honored that every day since the beginning. And still free and open to the public. Donations, of course, are appreciated and accepted, but we offer a very robust program of activities and events and changing exhibitions.
So the core events are still free. If they have some sort of a meal or something attached to it, you're just trying to get costs to match that up, but not really trying to make any money off of that. It's just strictly to make it as affordable as possible.
That's right. The trustees have a strong sense of mission and stewardship So we of course are very careful about finances, and we try to operate in the black all the time, and honor that gift and the gift of all the people who have helped support the museum since the beginnings in 1930.
And one of the most important aspects of it is people don't realize, well, I went through there a year ago, therefore I don't need to go through it again. In fact, you do. Why?
Well, we have changing exhibitions all the time. We just closed the Cumberland Valley Artists and Photographers Biennial, and of course we have changing exhibits that continue throughout the year.
And museums across the country will exchange material so that you'll get something that you don't own, but you can display it for a period of time.
And we often have requests to borrow works from our collections. It may not be known to the people of the region, but our collections are very, very well known nationally. They're very important. There's only one of them in most cases. And so another exhibit needs it for another institution would like to borrow something for their exhibitions. And we now have, I believe, 3 outgoing loan requests for paintings in the collection.
What we're going to do is we're going to do some pictures. Director Greg, you'll pull it up here. First of all, this is probably the most important picture. That's City Park Lake. And what's that in the middle there? Yes,
it's the beautiful Fine Arts Museum. And I love this photograph because it shows how gorgeously it's nestled in City Park. And it made me realize how amazingly green this city is. The canopy of trees is just phenomenal.
Now we have a new photograph exhibit coming up. Tell us a little about that.
Yes, Danny Lyon is the photographer. He is 76 years old. He began working in the 1960s and all the way up to the present, really. And these photographs were taken in the city of Knoxville, Tennessee. He was very interested in Knoxville because of a book that had been put out by writer James Agee and photographer Walker Evans called In Praise of Famous Men. It was actually about the Great Depression. It was documentary photographs combined with a narrative about the plight of farmers in the Great Depression. So Danny Lyon does a 1960s look at Knoxville, Tennessee in sort of the same camera eye view of the people, the culture, the well-being of the city. This shows you.
I look like West Washington Street, and they
it does.
all do.
Yes, Knoxville, Tennessee is not dissimilar. Their economic development was, I actually worked at the Knoxville Museum of Art for a decade almost, and during a time when their main street was struggling, they were working hard to bring back the downtown center, and they've been very, very successful with local entrepreneurs.
And so that's what we're looking at here, but this is part of the rotation here. So when does this particular exhibit start?
It'll begin at the end of June, and it runs all the way through the rest of the summer into the early fall.
All right, and the cost for attending the exhibit?
Is of course free.
Of course free. But if anybody did want to provide some assistance, because you do have to raise some money to operate every year, how could they do that?
Easily, just call the museum, or they can go online and make a donation. So we would appreciate any gifts and support from the community.
And what are your hours?
We are open every day except Monday. So on weekends, Saturday, we're open from 9 until 4, Sunday from 1 to 5, and then Tuesday through Friday from 9 to 5.
Rebecca, I want to thank you for taking time to appear on our program.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Great museum.
Thank you.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Tranquility at Fredericktown Assisted Living and Memory Care provides a warm, home-like atmosphere that promotes daily life enrichment. At Tranquility, our medical director is a geriatric physician. Our professionals support and understand the various stages associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. We have on-site physical, occupational, and speech therapists, as well as around-the-clock licensed nurses. For more information, give Tranquility at Fredericktown a call today, because everyone deserves great care. Let us do the caregiving so you and your loved one can embrace life again.
Guys, I thought you were supposed to be working in the yard.
But Dad, just one more bid on HurleyAuctions.com.
If you haven't visited HurleyAuctions.com, you don't know what you're missing. Whether you're buying or selling, antique cars, tractors, boats, or real estate, you can do it all at HurleyAuctions.com.
Get to know Dr. Carrie Hesley at Diagnostic Imaging Services.
What I find most rewarding is caring for women through our Women's Imaging Center. We have a caring staff that will ease patients through an ultrasound, bone densitometry, breast biopsy, or mammogram. Our health team is sensitive to emotions involved in women's imaging and understands that every woman is at risk for breast cancer. Providing the community with a center that is so dedicated to breast health and the imaging needs of women is something special.
DIS Women's Imaging Center, providing women with progressive care.
Welcome to Contemporary Health Scene. Contemporary Health Scene focuses on the health issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Patty Cowan, Outpatient Services Meritus Health Center. Welcome to the show, Patty.
Thank you for having me.
You know, outpatient has become a major part of the health delivery system. When we had somebody hospitalized 25 years ago, they might have actually rehabilitated in the hospital. That's not happening today.
True. Oftentimes they're being discharged and then they find out that their homes aren't set up for part of that rehabilitation. So there are different areas that they turn to make that happen. Two of the areas that I represent, Meritus Total Rehab Care is an outpatient physical therapy practice at Robinwood Professional Building, and Equip for Life, which is a retail store on Dual Highway that provides durable medical equipment and supplies, can help with that transition.
And so what we're seeing here is that people are being discharged from the hospital when they're nowhere close yet to be ready to go home, so they're being sent to skilled nursing facilities. Medicare doesn't want to pay for that either, so they're being discharged out of a skilled medical facility much earlier in the process than they would have been, delivered to their homes and said, by the way, you still need a bunch of services. So you're working with the families to develop a care plan that does not involve them being within a facility.
Correct. And at Total Rehab Care, with a referral from your provider, our therapy team works up a program for you. So we have a multidisciplinary team of therapists that provide occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy. We have a neuro team that works with individuals who may be recuperating from a stroke or a traumatic brain injury. Maybe they have Parkinson's disease or multiple sclerosis. We have a hand team that works from shoulder to hand and getting you back to the active lifestyle that you desire to have again.
And where is that facility located?
That's located at Robinwood Professional Building, just inside the red entrance. We're in Suite 201.
All right, and as you go in there, I happen to know it has another very substantial physical feature.
It surely does. We're the only physical therapy provider in Washington County that has a heated therapy pool. And that's used for individuals as either part of their therapy program or even to supplement their therapy program. It is 80 by 40 feet. It's kept at a nice warm 90 degrees. They even offer an arthritis class for individuals 3 times a week. That's very popular.
And as the somewhat tongue-in-cheek, doesn't have a diving board, but it does have a lift.
It does. It does. And
what do we mean by the lift?
So for individuals that are a little squeamish about walking into or getting into the pool, it provides the ability to gently get them into the pool and to remove them from the pool.
So put them in a seat and lower them into the pool.
Absolutely.
All right, so if you're not physically capable, don't be afraid of the pool.
Mm-hmm. And the wonderful aspect of it, it's buoyancy, so it's weightless, and it definitely helps with individuals with their progressing through their therapy program.
And lets them, in some instances, do some exercises that they couldn't do without the support of the water.
Absolutely. We also use it as part of something we call the wellness program. And that was developed as either a way to supplement your physical therapy or to maybe your discharge from physical therapy to continue your exercises in a more structured environment. You can do it with the use of the pool, or you can use the gym. And a therapist will sit with you and develop a structured therapy program with exercises.
And then oftentimes, as a part of that continuation on outpatient therapy, is also some need for equipment around the house in order to be able to address those types of issues.
Absolutely. That's where Equip for Life has a retail showroom that you can go into on Dual Highway, check out the items, try them, work with the professionals there and the customer service representatives to find ones that fit you properly, are at the right height, and provide safety and the ability to get you more active in your home again.
In many instances, it might be covered by insurance, but I oftentimes tell people, if you're having a physical limitation in your home, somebody's probably already thought of something to help you.
Absolutely. I mean, everything from safety in the bathroom, tub transfer benches, grab rails, to walkers, grabbers to help you reach things if you've dropped something.
Pull your socks up.
Pull your socks up, compression stockings. There's a whole variety. But more than that, there's also a rehab department that is trained with assistive technology professionals who can make sure that if you need more complex rehab equipment, that it's properly fitted to you.
And you also have people on staff to help them figure out what the reimbursements might be for that.
Mm-hmm. They will work with you to find out if your insurance, whether it's private insurance or Medicare or Medicaid, will cover that equipment or supply.
And perhaps if an appropriate diagnosis is missing, to make sure that you get it in order to justify getting that equipment.
They work with your provider on that as well.
So Patty, how could they get more information?
Well, if you want more information about Equip for Life, we're located at 520 Dual Highway. And for Total Rehab Care, located at Robinwood Professional Building, Suite 201.
Patty, I want to thank you for taking time to appear on our program.
Thank you.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
The Community Foundation, through its scholarship programs and through its strategic grants, has been a positive influence for change.
Last year, change in Frederick County was influenced thanks to nearly 1,800 caring donors. Everyone can help. Your influence is key.
Help us proactively focus on where we need to be investing our energy in the future.
Albright, Crumbacker, Moul, and Itell are a full-service firm that provides elder care services including managing incoming bills, bill payment, depositing checks, balancing bank statements, and preparing, planning, and filing personal tax returns. Put your mind at ease and call us today.
Welcome to the Making Sense feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various financial issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Pete Alexander, a partner in the regional accounting firm of Albright, Crumbacker, Moul, and Itell, with offices in Hagerstown and Martinsburg, West Virginia. Welcome to the show, Pete.
Good to be here, Mike.
Pete, you know, we're beginning to try to figure out what this new tax law says, because obviously they dumped it on everybody right at the end of the year. And it's very gratifying to know that our congressmen and senators didn't read it when they voted for it.
Not enough time to actually vote and read. You get a choice. You can either have them vote on it or read it, one of the two.
And so as we've looked at some stuff in terms of the retirement community, we tend to think that there's not been too much adverse effect initially on that. So let's talk specifically about several things. Where are we on the medical expense deduction?
Well, if you can still itemize, then medical expenses are still fully deductible. And just like before, you must exceed your adjusted gross income by 7.5%. So if somebody has total income of $100,000, everything over $7,500 would be deductible as a Schedule A itemized deduction.
But in fact, there has been a fairly substantial change there, because many of our viewers are they're not going to be able to itemize. Why is that?
Yeah, before people got a lower standard deduction. Now they get, especially a senior couple, they get $24,000 plus $1,000 more each if they're over 65. So we're talking $26,000 standard deduction. So unless your itemized deductions exceed $26,000, you're going to be better off just taking the $26,000 standard deduction.
And so for a lot of people, they're going to find that it's going to be a simpler tax return than it might have been in the past.
Yeah, it's going to be a much simpler return, especially if they don't have a lot of outside nursing home or high-end medical expenses. They're pretty much only going to have their real estate taxes and what state taxes they pay, and also some charitable contributions. Because the other thing we got rid of is Schedule A miscellaneous itemized deductions, which are where people put all the other hidden deductions that they couldn't find another place to deduct.
And of course, as a part of that, you may find that there'll be some timing issues, because we do know that there are people that have some charitable intent and so forth, and they may not be giving away $20,000 in a single year, but they might over a course of several years.
Yeah, as we talked about before, if you're giving away $10,000 a year and your other itemized deductions are maybe $10,000, then you're going to have $20,000 a year deduction. You're not going to itemize. But if you take your charitable contributions and don't give any for 1 year, but give 20 the next year, then with that extra $10,000, you'll have $30,000 deductions, so you'll have more deductions. So some people may want to group their itemized deductions, especially in years where they have high medical costs. They may want to specifically go to that year.
Well, and it's not as gruesome as it sounds, because most of the charitable deductions we see on a sizable level are done late in the year anyway, so the only difference would be is rather than making that contribution in December, you might make it in January.
Exactly right. And I know there's a lot out there about home mortgage interest not being deductible. Home mortgage interest is still deductible, but you can only deduct home mortgage interest on the $750,000 mortgage. Anything above that you can. It used to be $1 million. So most of us and most of the people in the retirement community aren't going to have a problem there. State taxes, whether it be income tax or real estate taxes. I know there's a lot out there saying they're not deductible. They are deductible, but you can only deduct $10,000 in that category. Once again, most people in our retirement community don't have much more than $10,000. So the restrictions of the itemized deductions, other than maybe you're better off taking the standard deduction, the restrictions themselves, for the most part, aren't going to hurt the retirement community.
And then, of course, that secondary issue there is it's still, you have to have a total that exceeds that standard deduction before you're going to be itemizing anyway.
Yeah, and that was the same rule as before. We just really jacked up the standard deduction. Like I said, we've more than doubled it when you take into account people over the age of 65.
So the perception is they were eliminated, but actually as a practical effect, it just isn't available because of that standard deduction being increased.
Exactly right. Most things won't change, and you'll have to do some calculations, but most seniors will end up being better off because of a much higher standard deduction.
And then there's a little bit of a rate reductions as well.
Yeah, the first bracket, the 10% bracket, which runs almost to $20,000 for a married couple, that 10% bracket does not change. Every bracket over that is dropping 3%. So the 15% bracket, which is the next bracket after you have 20,000 taxable income, you jump into a 15% bracket, that's jumping down to 12%. The 25% bracket's dropping down to 22%, and so on and so forth. So once you get outside of 20,000, you're going to save 3%. Now, a lot of people have withholdings on their retirement accounts. Remember, you're probably not going to see this refund increase because those charts are already been adjusted, so you're probably getting less withheld out of your retirement plan or your Social Security.
Pete, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on our program.
Great to be here, Mike.
Thank you from Contemporary Retirement.
Remember a more carefree time? Leave your insurance worries to us, Wright Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
These days, it seems like everything's online, and filling out claim forms and receiving and paying bills online isn't always easiest. That's why we at Quality First Insurance encourage you to just give us a call. Let us help.
Hi there, I'm Paul Sweeney with Quality First Insurance, and it's still just as simple. Our offices are open every weekday where you'll be able to call and speak to real, live people.
No detail was missed. I'm so glad that I turned to Quality First Insurance.
I've recommended Quality First Insurance to my friends who've been just as satisfied.
If you're not happy with what you're paying for Medigap, or more importantly, not happy with your service, give us a try. We're locally owned, and we take the time to provide you with the best. We are Quality First Insurance, and our mission is to provide quality products to quality people. Pick up the phone and give us a call today at 800-745-1411.